Chairman?
I would just like to just want to start off the meeting. There's obviously a great deal of conversation, concern, and unrest across Pennsylvania and frankly across the nation, understandably and justifiably so, based on the horrific conduct that we've witnessed in Minneapolis and elsewhere. And as a commission on sentencing, we are an integral part of the criminal justice system, and I think it's incumbent upon us to ensure that we are looking at the policies that we are implementing and also looking at the policies that other criminal justice agencies across this Commonwealth are implementing and how they may be impacted by race. And I think that that's an important component. I did ask Mark the other day, for some ideas and thoughts for us to really move this subject to the forefront as we pursue a rework of the guidelines with the 8th edition that we are about to embark upon. And a lot of these issues are not new for us. They were raised very well by folks during the public hearings on the risk assessment project, and frankly, voiced by many members of the commission currently and previous members who are no longer on the commission. And so these are issues that we continue to work on, and we obviously have more work to do, and we'll keep working there. But I wanted to make sure that the members of the commission know that I do think that this is really critical work for us, and I think that we have an important role to play. Obviously, our data is used, has recently been used just this past February in Allegheny County, to identify racial concerns or concerns of racial bias in the criminal justice system. And I think it's important that we continue to, serve that role, but I think that there's a broader role for us as well. And I've already reached out to a couple of commission members, and I was going to reach out individually to each of the members just to see if anyone has any thoughts on ways that we can, through the work of the commission, improve outcomes and reduce, hopefully eliminate any racial bias inherent in our criminal justice system here in Pennsylvania. So I just wanted to make the members aware that I am going to be reaching out to each of you for any thoughts that you may have. You can always, of course, call or email me because I think it's important that we do all we can to address these issues moving forward. Mark, I don't know if you have anything you wanted to add in that regard.
Yeah, just I guess one comment or echoing two of the things you raised. One is, on sort of the technical side, the data collection. Over the history of the commission, data is boring, but it's really important when we're trying to set policy or understand, what happened or what is happening. And so back in the 90s, the commission started aggressively to partner with academic institutions to do research on race and sentencing, and not just race, ethnicity, gender, age, and others. And I think it's, as the chairman said, it's really important that we continue to do that because you need good information to make good policy decisions. And I think that's one contribution the commission has made, and we should continue to make it. But getting to the other point that the chairman made in terms of policy and actions by the commission, my sense over the last 4 or 5 years as we've been working on this 8th edition rebuild of the guidelines, a lot of the attention has been focused on the prior record score. And I think not only our research, but research by the Robina Institute, other national research entities have said, that's really a point that deserves a lot of effort and a lot of sensitivity because, there could be legacy issues in terms of arrests and convictions and other things like that build up a prior record score that never go away. And so I think the commission's efforts to understand and try to figure out the right role for the prior record score, and also to understand the role of criminal records and of that kind of information, I think is really important. and I think we could see substantial changes in that area. So I just echo the chairman's comments and really hope that we think of a way where we can obtain, information and feedback from the public as we did with the risk assessment. It was a tough process, but we learned a lot. We gained a lot. We have a better policy because of that public process, and I hope we can do the same in trying to look at this. Thank you.
All right. Did any of the other commission members have any comments or thoughts before we move
Yeah,
forward
this is Judge Tucker. Yes, I agree wholeheartedly, and a lot of what the commission does is done through staff, and I think the staff should be more diverse. I'll just have to be blunt about it. The staff must be more diverse. The effect that this commission has on the citizens of our Commonwealth and the amount of people that are a minority that comes through the things that the commission handles, I think everyone must agree that the staff must be more diverse because of the effect, again, that it has on the citizens of the Commonwealth and the individuals that are sentenced by the courts in this Commonwealth. Thank you.
Thank
It's a
you.
great point, and certainly something that we need to undertake for sure. Thank you, Judge. Any other commission members like to be recognized?
Dave Sunday.
Yeah, go ahead, DA.
I just want to echo the statements of both yourself, Representative Stevens, and Judge Tucker. I think that, and I don't know, I'm new to the commission, and so I'm sort of working my way through it, going backwards and reading prior meeting minutes and doing my homework. It's taken a lot of time. However, one of the things I don't know if the commission would consider discussing maybe a diversity and inclusion statement or something of that nature. I think that would probably go a long way considering the tremendous impact that this body has on the justice system. And I'm just throwing that out there for purposes of discussion. That's something I certainly would entertain.
That's a terrific idea. Certainly something we can follow up on, and I think that's a terrific idea as well. Any other commission members have any thoughts or comments?
Representative McClinton's hand is up.
Okay.
Good morning, everyone.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, Joanna. I just want to let everyone know I can't see whose hand's up, so I'm relying on Mark and Ryan for that. So I apologize.
I thought you were ignoring me like usual, Todd. I called you because you didn't answer. This is State Rep Johanna McClinton for the record. Thank you for having a discussion on what's going on nationally. Certainly it hits home in Pennsylvania when we look at just numbers alone of who's currently incarcerated in the Department of Corrections. We have an overpopulation of people of color. And when we look at the way the policies we create affect communities of color, it is all, interrelated. It's not one issue. It's not an issue of police brutality. It is an issue of so many systems that have been racist towards people that look like me for centuries, whether we're talking about the justice system or whether we're talking about access to the ballot or whether we're talking about the ability to earn a living wage. When I see young people in my community marching the streets in the middle of a pandemic, raising their voices, it's because of all of these issues. It is certainly about George Floyd, but not exclusively. There's every issue that's been boiling up during 100 days stuck in the house that is prompting people to lift their voices and look at leaders like yourself, Chairman, and those on this call who make up this committee to take actions that are more considerate, that are more thoughtful, and that are more inclusive. And I agree with the earlier comments about from our staff to even the makeup of our commission members that we need to have a diverse group of people who have their voices shared in this commission. I know that currently I'm the only person who was a former public defender and the only African-American woman currently. I know that wasn't the case just a few months ago, but we have to continue to make, strides, actions, and real steps. Like, it's wonderful to discuss these things and to brainstorm. And I wonder if there could be some sort of committee, but I think that even many of the people, at least when I'm physically present at the public comment, represent a diverse community often when they're sharing their thoughts and their feedback on the policies that we are implementing that have a direct influence on the lives of many Black and Brown people across the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. So thank you for your leadership and even allowing us to have a space to talk about this. And I look forward to the action that we'll take throughout 2020.
Look forward to working with you on it. Anyone else have any comments or thoughts they'd like to share?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I do.
Sure. Go ahead, Senator.
Look, first I want to again thank everyone for opening up this forum to have for comments in this regard. Look, the work we do around criminal justice reform is important to all communities. But is even more significant often in communities of color, particularly the African-American community, where disparities of folks coming through the system are just a lot higher. We are more likely to be victims, and we are more likely to be defendants. And so getting this right is important. The reality is that the African-American community does need appropriate measures to keep it safe, but we cannot have a system where where people don't have confidence in those of us, whether we're policymakers, like we are judges who sit on this committee, administrators, or in fact, law enforcement. And the part of what you're seeing is all the frustrations that Representative McClinton pointed out, along with just an overwhelming frustration that and feeling that the system doesn't respect or reflect them. And the ultimate manifestation of that was watching people who are supposed to be sworn officers of the law murder a Black man on camera, as those 4 officers did to George Floyd in Minnesota. It's unconscionable and it is upsetting, but when all that happens in the midst of a pandemic that is increasing attention to, and both from people on the outside, but certainly people in the community, of all the other inequities that exist in our society because of the historical challenges. When you have a stay-at-home order and your house has a big backyard and your house has a bunch of rooms and you have a game room and a pool table and a bunch of those things, that's one thing. The average row house in my district is 16 feet wide. Most people live one family per floor. So there's a reason that I have a Senate district that you can walk across in a couple miles, while other people have Senate districts that take a couple hours for you to drive across. It is because the density is higher, people have less space, people have less resources, and in fact are just consuming less of the Commonwealth's resources. And when you confine people to those spaces, it has an effect. And people often don't think about it because you go about your life, but when you're confined to that space, you have to think about it. When you need access to health care and you live in a community and now it's critical, and you realize that the hospital waiting room that was always overcrowded, now you're worried because you're not supposed to be in a crowded space. So going to the hospital emergency room is in fact making you medically vulnerable, so you have to avoid hospitals. Those kinds of things add to tensions and anxieties. And I think the thing that we can do in this space as a commission is to work to make sure that people understand and believe that we are trying to make the system better. most Black people are realistic and understand that the system didn't get unfair overnight, and it may not become fair overnight, but people get really upset when they see us going in the wrong direction and not the right direction, because that is intolerable for too many. I've been pleased by when I went on the original peaceful march, by how diverse it was, particularly young people. I will say candidly, I have evidenced a level of respect and concern amongst many of the young millennial white marchers and social justice advocates that I've never seen in prior generations in that volume, not saying that there are no individuals. And it is encouraging when young people are as concerned for others. These are clearly people who are not impacted. You have young white kids holding up signs that say Black Lives Matter. We must stop the killing of Black and brown children and babies. And they are blonde-haired and blue-eyed. And it is encouraging that that generation seems to understand, as Dr. King pointed out, we're all caught up in a web of mutuality which makes us interconnected, and that injustice to anyone is an injustice for everyone. And so I would submit that the work this all highlights the work we're doing, and that we have to make things fair. And I like my colleague, a little disappointed that the commission, when we reconfigured it, became a little less diverse, but I'm encouraged that we still have an opportunity to create more equitable policies going forward. And again, thank the chair and the members for this opportunity to talk in this way, and thank the staff for their continued diligent efforts to really create a platform for us to have these discussions and to give us fair and unbiased data.
Thanks so much, Senator. I appreciate it, and look forward to working with you on these issues for sure.
I look forward to working with you, Mr. Chair, as well.
Thanks. Any other comments by any other members? All right.